Now for the upper rib cage, we're going to correlate that with shoulder internal rotation. So just like the lower rib cage influences the pelvis, the upper rib cage is going to have an impact on how the scapula sits into how much space we have at that glenohumeral joint. Okay, so if we check Sarah's rib cage mobility, we're going to be very interested in her shoulder internal rotation, her humeroglenoidal internal rotation for the upper rib cage mobility, and we're also going to be very interested in her hip flexion internal rotation for her lower rib cage mobility. So just like we saw on module 2, I'll recap that. So what I'll do now, you need to have trust with the patient. You need them to be feeling very comfortable at this point. If it's a persistent pain patient, you may go slower, you may take your time. From module 2, we've already seen Sarah likes probably a little bit slower hands-on, a little bit more of a firm contact rather than flying through it. She's a little bit sensitive with some tissues. So getting to know my patient, I need to take that into consideration. When I put my hands on Sarah's rib cage, I may let him sit there for a second before I move him. If I put my hands straight on Sarah's rib cage and go to move them, I'm probably going to get some kind of reflexive action based on my awareness of how Sarah is reacting to the hands-on treatment to date. Okay, and I think that's a very important point that's not talked a lot or taught. Okay, so to get back to it anyways, so rib cage mobility, obviously I've told Sarah what's going to happen. You probably want to talk through, well, you do need to talk through your patient. So Sarah, I'm just going to put my hands on your ribs and I'm just going to push your ribs down just to see how they're going to mobilize, if that's okay. So I'm going to pop my hands on Sarah's ribs here. I'm going to get Sarah to take a breath in. And then as she breathes out, I'm going to help them to depress. And then I'm also going to retract them, okay? So the key thing here is it's not depression, it's retraction is the key. Now, when we retract Sarah's ribs, we're essentially shortening her internal obliques, okay? So the internal obliques are very important to help that retraction of her rib cage. So we're essentially seeing if those tissues can shorten, the more retraction we get, okay, the more length, obviously we're checking our extensibility, whatever you want to call it, through the iliocostalis, okay?